looking through the one-way glass at him standing in line with the 5 plainclothes cops who stood patiently staring into the light glare. It was funny. Frank hesitated again before saying, "Second one on the left." "You're sure he's the one?" "I'm sure it isn't one of those cops," Frank said. Out in the office, he asked the detective sergeant about the guy, who he was, and if he'd been arrested before, and learned the following. Ernest Stickley Jr., no aliases. Address, Zanzibar Motel, Southfield, Michigan. Born in Norman, Oklahoma, October 11, 1940. Occupation, truck driver, transit mix operator. Marital status, divorced. Ex-wife and 7-year-old daughter residing in Pompano Beach, Florida. The sheet also listed previous arrests. The first time for joyriding, sentence suspended. Arrested 2 years later on a UDAA charge, unlawfully driving away an automobile, and received 1 year probation. The final one arrested for grand theft auto, transporting a stolen motor vehicle across a state line, and convicted. Served 10 months in the Federal Correctional Institution at Milan, Michigan. Frank said to himself, Well. An auto thief named Ernest with a record. Maybe a hick, but a fairly nice-looking guy, mid-30s, had nerve, didn't seem to get excited. Obviously knew how to steal cars. In fact, Frank was pretty sure the guy had stolen a lot more cars than were listed on his sheet. 4 arrests now, and most likely another conviction. The third time Frank saw Stick was at the pre-trial examination on the 4th floor of the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. It was an air-conditioned, wood-paneled courtroom with indirect lighting and enough microphones placed around so the people in the audience could hear the proceedings. There were a few cops in off-duty clothes, some cute young black ladies, and skinny guys in modified pimp outfits who were either pimps or pushers or might be felony suspects, B&E, robbery, or assault, out on bond. There were a few spectators, too, mostly retirees who came up to watch felony exams and murder trials because they were more fun than movies and they were free. Frank was surprised when he saw the assistant prosecutor, a young black guy in a tight sport coat, young and short and fat. He had thought all young black guys in Detroit were at least 6'7" and went about 150. Frank decided the black guy was very smart and had passed the bar in the top 10. He looked like he was enjoying himself, shuffling papers, moving around a lot to talk to the judge and the court clerk and the defense lawyers, then turning away from them, smiling at some inside remark, having fun being a prosecuting attorney. Frank had a feeling the people watching the guy were probably thinking, "Look at that little mother, little kiss-ass with the big horn-rimmed glasses on to show how smart he is." Everybody in the courtroom was black, except Frank, a couple of Jewish lawyers in their 60s, and the off-duty cops waiting to be called as witnesses. Stick hadn't been able to make bond. They brought him in through a side door and sat him at the end of a table facing the witness stand as the judge, a black guy with graying hair and a neat gray mustache, called a number and read Stick's name from a big file folder he was holding. Then the prosecutor called Mr. Frank Ryan, and he went through the gate and over to the court clerk, who swore him in and told him to sit down in the witness chair, take the mic off its stand, and hold it in front of him. They didn't waste any time. The little prosecutor asked him if he would please tell what happened the night of May 22nd in the used car lot at Red Bauer Chevrolet. Frank told it. Most of it. Then he was asked if he had the next day identified the same man in a show-up at Detroit Police Headquarters. Frank said, yes, he had. The little prosecutor said, "And do you see that same man in this courtroom?" Frank said, "No, I don't." "And would you point—" The little prosecutor stopped. "What did you say?" I said, "No, I don't see him." "You identified him. Didn't you point him out at a show-up?" "I thought he was the one," Frank said, "but now I see him again, I'm not sure." Ernest Stickley, sitting about 15 feet away, was staring at him. Frank met his gaze and held it a moment before looking at the prosecutor again. "I mean, maybe it's the same person, but I have to tell you I've got a reasonable doubt it isn't. I can't swear it's the same person." "You're sure one day," the little prosecutor said. "Now today you're not." "I didn't say I was sure. The police officer